Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former state representative, and I'm here today with Stay Live Streams for our periodic conversations about the Louisville consent decree. As you may have heard by now, Justice Beaton, the federal judge who is over the consent decree, decided to issue a court order asking for more information for all of the parties involved with the consent decree. It will be February 18th before he makes a decision about the consent decree based on that information that he receives back from the parties involved. But we have some new news that may impact Judge Beaton's decision. President Trump issued an executive order halting consent decrees. So that impacts Louisville, it impacts Minneapolis, and it impacts other cities like Memphis that recently announced that they were issuing consent decrees for their cities. So what that means for us is we have to expect Chief Humphrey and Mayor Greenberg to respond to the question of what does transformative policing look like without a consent decree. There was also a press conference held this morning by Councilman J.P. Leninger, Councilwoman Shamika Parrish Wright, and there were community folks involved, bringing us up to speed on where we are today with the consent decree. Thank you to both of the council members for holding that press conference, and it's very important for people to pay attention to what comes next.
To those in our community who demanded change, thank you for speaking up.
To our community, thank you for your partnership as we move forward.
Well, we're going to be talking about the consent decree that was recently signed between Louisville Metro Government, the Louisville Metro Police Department, and the U.S. Department of Justice.
At the end of the day, the people of Louisville deserve constitutional and effective policing and nothing less.
From here, I think the first thing that we need to do is people need to actually realize what our reality is. I think there are people that believe this is going to be a rough 4 years and we're going to have to suffer through it. But it's not just going to be 4 years if we don't act in civil disobedience. We have a bunch of different movements across the state that, if they were to come together in unity towards the ultimate system, we say the whole damn system is guilty. But we have to fight the whole damn system to beat the whole damn system. And we have to do it together.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for being here with Say Live Streams. Again, I'm Attica Scott, former state representative, and I am joined today by a very dear friend of mine, Destiny Kelly with The Revolution KY. We're going to talk about what that is in a minute, but welcome, Destiny.
Hey, Attica.
So I want to start by asking, we get right into it here. So I want to start by asking you, what brought you out to the streets in 2020?
I was a day 3 Breonna Taylor protester, and out where I live, it takes a little while for the news to get out there. So I didn't actually know y'all were there until day 2. But as soon I've just always, when I was younger, my mom used to get mad at me because I would be like, "That's not fair. That's not fair," and she would say, "The world's not fair, Destiny. Get used to it." But I knew that these were people's rights and they were being abused. And so I brought my then 18-year-old daughter, I had on flip flops, and came down there with my phone to show the rural people, to all the people on my friends list, that nobody was actually doing anything wrong. But within 30 minutes of being there, they unloaded on us and I had my daughter and I lost my flip flops. I drove her all the way home, put on my tennis shoes, and came all the way back every day after.
So I want folks to hear what Destiny just said. She's coming from a rural community, so shout out to all of our rural folks, particularly our folks over in Appalachia who stood with us 10 toes deep. Some people were able to show up in 2020 physically. Some people went to social media to share the story. So thank you to everybody who did that because we knew we couldn't share the story by ourselves. It had to be shared by other folks. So thank you for that. Thank you, Destiny, and your daughter. So that was 2020, and it's been almost 5 years,
Yeah, coming up
right?
on it. Just
Coming
in a
up
few
on 5
months.
years in a few
Yeah,
months.
my first day was May 30th.
So May 30th. So what has your work looked like since then? What kind of advocacy or public policy work have you continued or launched or started since 2020?
Well, on Breeway, and it was really the first time that I felt like I was around a whole bunch of people that were like me, that saw the world in the same way I did. Because where I am did 75% vote for Donald Trump. So that's really what kept me coming back to the squares. Like I just felt home there. And a part of Breeway was knowing that that was a seed and that we had the responsibility to grow that out.
Mhm.
And I knew what my community was.
Yes.
And I knew that it was my responsibility to be the one in my community.
Mm.
So when Freeway kind of started going down, I went out in my community with the same mindset and feeling the same support because I still talk to you all the time in the same way, and was immediately not welcome with that kind of
Okay.
vibe. And
Mm.
I started a C4 to create legal protections around myself
Okay.
so that I could do what I knew I was called to do.
Okay.
And that's how the revolution started.
All
And it
right.
was just me, and it was just one event that I wanted to have, and they weren't going to tell me no. I'd learned that there are loopholes, and I will find them and
Okay.
do the action anyway. From there, then Eastern Kentucky was flooded, and I ran a donation drive of kids' backpacks, and well, me and a few other people. It hasn't always just been me at all, but you know, about me personally, I participated in that, and then it just seemed like there was the next thing and the next thing. I started going to trainings. I joined the Cave and K-Set table, and I started actively organizing a community instead of an event or an action. And I do that basically on class status, and then trying to reach my community for specific policies. Like we don't have grocery stores either, and they are grocery prices and this and that, and then I relate that to, in the West End they also don't have grocery stores. We're the same in that way.
Yes.
We have that same complaint. Let's work together
That's right.
on getting grocery stores,
That's right.
education, whatever.
All of it, right? All of
Yeah.
it. So Destiny mentioned that the Revolution KY is a 501c4, where I work full time at Forward Justice Action Network. FJAN is a 501c4. So for folks who are wondering what is that, so you have your 501c3 nonprofits that many of you donate to. You get tax write off because of your donations. We're 501c4. We do a lot of advocacy and public policy work, and we get to support, protest, and support good people who are running for office. So that's one of the major differences with a 501c4. So, Destiny, can you tell me what does it mean to you to show up for racial justice? Because so much of what you're talking about in the work that you do that I follow, because follow the Revolution KY on all the social media platforms. So, what does it mean to you to show up for racial justice?
Well, historically speaking, colonization in every form across the globe in every way stems from a group of white Christians that asserted dominance and white supremacy. White supremacy has oppressed, marginalized people of color, different religions, different genders since the very beginning. That's what it all stems from, is that supremacy. In the founding of America in particular, the use of black bodies, the sale and the torture and the abuse of black bodies to build a country, then you try to rid the country of their space, of their voice, but you used them to build it.
That's right.
In a land that wasn't yours in the first place. So I don't really look at it as like racial justice particularly, but the supremacy of white people and what they've done to all population from the beginning of time. And I think that speaks a little bit more to my demographic too, because of the way misinformation and media is put out. Like it's the black people's problem, it's the immigrants' problem, it's the females' problem, and when I broaden it out, they don't hear the buzzwords from the media as much, and they understand that it's a group of elites that have controlled our education in a way that has made us have divide, our media in a way that we don't actually know the truth, and has got us to the point to we're all with each other.
Yes. So, in our last few minutes that we have together, Destiny, I want to really dig into the consent decree. So, as folks know, we've had lots of updates related to that. We had Judd Beatson with his court order on Saturday requesting more information from the parties involved. Yesterday, we know that President Trump signed an executive order to halt all consent decrees. And then this morning, Councilwoman Shamika Parrish Wright and Councilman J.P. Leninger held a press conference to update folks on all of these latest developments. So now that we're here in this reality, in this moment, how are you feeling, and what are your thoughts about the consent decree and the path forward?
I talked to Maxwell last night when he asked me to do this interview, and it had not been thrown out yet. At 6:45, I talked to Maxwell, and he said, "What? How's this consent decree going to affect the work that you do?" And I said, "It's not, because Trump is going to ensure that it's not carried
Look at
out.
that.
It won't actually be valid." I didn't really like it anyway. It There's a lot of loopholes to get out of things in that consent decree, and even if it had been instituted, ultimately the FOP would have ensured it didn't amount to anything. But at 8:30, they released a news article that he had put them out. So what I'm feeling is we are in a very predictable and um, real stage in American history that relates to other countries and things that have happened in the past. I feel like not everyone necessarily realizes that we're at that point,
Okay.
and um, and that there will be complacency or um, a resistance to break the rules in a way that actually makes effective change. I um, I hope that more people understand the reality of it, but protections like the consent decrees don't actually protect you under authoritarian regimes.
That's right.
And the only way to actually free ourselves from the whole system is to fight the system through civil disobedience and refusing to let them oppress us in that way. So I feel strategic because I do know where we are in reality, and I have looked at the timeline of German history and what the resistance needed to do to stop the tactics that are being performed. Immigration,
Yes.
loss of rights, just all the way around. And and people of color have been fighting for Black lives, and LGBTQ have been fighting for LGBTQ rights, and there's all these different movements. But when I go to Freeway, I didn't see Planned Parenthood, and when I go to Fairness, I don't see um, ACLU. I see movements fighting their individual challenges and everyone realizing that the whole system's guilty, but not realizing the bridge and the way we all have to fight the whole system. You all need Planned Parenthood to give you more power and more numbers and more leverage, and Planned Parenthood needs fairness to give them more power. And the unions are involved too, right? When we add these numbers together, we've got our 3.5%, which is the social, threshold of actually starting to make a change. 5%, we're rolling, we snowball, but we can't get there if we don't come to the reality that we're at, what actions we actually need to be taking, because marches are not going to become effective. Calling your legislator absolutely is not effective anymore. And understanding we have to break the rules. We might have to break the rules for their fight over here, because that's ultimately going to win our fight too. We have to see this as one fight, be strategic, and actually do it. We're all scared.
Right.
We're
Exactly.
all scared.
Yeah.
But we also know that we have to fight the system, or the system will kill us all.
Exactly. So you all heard Destiny say that um, what we're going through right now is predictable, right? And it is. When we're talking about, especially white men who are in politics, they are predictable, right? Absolutely predictable. And we are in uncertain times. I will say that for myself. I feel a sense of uncertainty about what's going to happen next, right? I know something's going to happen next, but I'm uncertain about what it is. So I want to thank you so much, Destiny, for being
You're
here, for the
welcome.
truth that you are speaking, because it's vital for people to hear. I definitely support the work of the Revolution KY, one of my favorite organizations. And Destiny put out a call to action to our groups out there, our organizations doing good and important work. We got to work together, y'all. We got to be like this rather than like this, because otherwise, we're going to be pulled apart, continue to be separated and divided, and they're going to pick us off one at a time rather than us being a strong coalition that cannot be defeated. So let's continue to work together and stay tuned for our next guest. Thank you, Destiny.
You're welcome. Thank you,
All
Attica.
right.
The lights of Kentucky Performing Arts shine on more than our shows. They illuminate a pathway of discovery for all throughout our Commonwealth. A pathway of creativity, confidence, possibility, of brilliance, inspiration, curiosity, and wonder. For 40 years, Kentucky Performing Arts has led a pathway to unite the Commonwealth around the joy of discovering the arts, and will continue to shine this light far into the future.
The DOJ findings, the consent decree, and now it's on hold. How do we move forward? How do we come together? We mobilize, organize the community to come up with a plan whereby we are satisfied.
All right, welcome back, y'all. And we've got Jamel Lewis as our next guest, and we're going to get right into it. So, welcome so much. Thank you for joining us. I want to start, as I always do when we have our special guests, and that is what brought you out into the streets in 2020?
Well, what brought me out was, first of all, we were lied to as a community when Breonna Taylor was murdered. They told us it was a drug dealer. They made her have to be the bad person. And so when we heard the tapes, and then we heard the Kenneth Walker tapes, we it was a lot of lies being told. So on May the 28th, 2020, that's when I came out because I wanted to use my voice and use whatever I needed to do so we can get some justice.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you so much. So, I want to talk about what has justice and advocacy looked like for you since 2020 in the protests?
Hmm. Justice for me is first of all accountability.
Mm,
If there is no accountability, there is no justice.
mhm,
So you can give, you can give all the, give us a statue, you can give us a plaque, but there's still no justice.
mhm.
So I feel like we're still losing.
Okay.
We take the small victories, yeah, of course we do that, but as far as justice, um, in this time we haven't got any
Mm,
justice.
okay. So a lot has happened in these past few years. We had the Department of Justice come in. They launched an investigation into Louisville Metro Government, Louisville Metro Police Department. Then they announced their findings and recommendations. And then in December of 2024, they announced that they were signing the and filing the consent decree with Louisville Metro Government and the Louisville Metro Police Department. So in these past uh, few years, especially past year and a half, are there some highlights or moments that really stand out to you that you want to share with the viewers?
I do want to share that. I mean, the decree uh, would have benefited the community if I know it's on pause. The president put a halt to it, but it's to look into the practices, these unconstitutional practices. These are things that we need as a community. In the decree, it stated they wanted to restore the trust with the people in the community. Well, that's what the decree is going to help do. But at the same time, uh, it's on pause now. So
Right.
it's kind of again, it's a step back, but we are hopeful. We're hopeful people. Um, since slavery days.
Mm.
We are resilient people. So we believe and we hope and we pray and we'll continue to do what's needed to do as a community to come together and organize and mobilize.
Thank you for that. And Janelle said something important. He talked about building trust. So can you tell us what does that building trust look like to you? How do police build trust with community? How does local government build trust with community? What does that look like to you?
First of all, transparency, complete transparency.
Okay.
When things happen, we don't need to wait 10 days, 20 days to see body cam. And we want the uncut
Mhm.
footage. So let's be transparent. One, and let's have some accountability. Let's not deflect. when there's over policing going on in our community, when there's warrants that have been lied on. Let's be accountable for that. So let's start there with some accountability and transparency.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. So now, with all the updates we've gotten about the consent decree, the fact that President Trump has issued an executive order to halt consent decrees, the federal judge, Judge Beatson, said it'd be February 18th anyway before he would have made a decision on the consent decree. What's the path forward to you? How do we get to transformative policing without a consent decree?
We have to organize, and we have to. So I gotta say, so we can't. We're not scared of controversy.
Okay.
Things happen. It's how do we get through it, and how we get through it is unity.
Yes.
We have to, when it comes time for Senator Couture, when she going as the senator, on let us know what's going on so we can come out, give us the community dates, things that's going on, so we can come together and we can talk about it, how to move forward. That's the first thing. We don't want to have to look for things like a needle in a haystack.
Right.
Make it available for people to get it. My mother doesn't use the internet, so put it in some paper so she can see it in her hand, and so we can come out and we can take part and we can do what we need to do to move forward.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything that you want to share before we go? Anything that's on your heart, your mind that you're thinking about as it relates to the consent decree?
Um, I do, I do. When it comes to the accountability of LMPD and the police, a lot of us in 2020, uh, we suffered great loss. Me myself personally, I spent about $13,000 proving that I didn't commit a crime that they say I committed.
Wow.
So, and yes, it was expunged. The charges were expunged. But what about the time, the mental anguish that I went through? They defamed my character. I almost lost my job. I worked for Goodwill, and I had to check in every time I went to court to prove whatever the updates were. How do you repay that? I was fortunate enough to pay for my lawyer fees and stuff like that. A lot of people wasn't. What about those people? They who didn't have a great support system.
That's right.
They have to make it right. I don't know what that looks like, but somebody, whether it's Greenberg, whether whoever it is, they need to make that right for the people who suffered great loss in 2020.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Janelle. And another shout out, as always, to Goodwill for opening up its doors to us for these stay live streams, interviews, conversations for the podcast. Such an important community partner, clear about their role and vision and mission and values in our community. So we have one more guest coming up on today's live, and we'll be back in just a moment with that special guest. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hey, I know you're watching the live stream right now, but I want to take a moment to tell you to check out this new book right here over my shoulder. Believe me, it'll be worth it.
Hey guys, before we get back to the live stream, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality Bar and Grill, located at 3402 West Broadway. You guys got to come and check us out. You can call your order in, and the phone number is 502-822-1474. Again, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality. Come check us out, guys.
The lights of Kentucky Performing Arts shine on more than our shows. They illuminate a pathway of discovery for all throughout our Commonwealth. A pathway of creativity, confidence, possibility, of brilliance, inspiration, curiosity, and wonder. For 40 years, Kentucky Performing Arts has led a pathway to unite the Commonwealth around the joy of discovering the arts, and will continue to shine this light far into the future.
All right, welcome back, y'all, to Stay Live Streams. And we are here with the Bishop Dennis Lyons, who hosts every Friday the Bishop's Table. We'll hear more about that in just a moment. But as always, we get right into it. So, welcome, Bishop. Thank you for
Well,
being
thank
with
you,
us.
Erica. So glad to be able to be on the same stage with you.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. So, we're talking about the consent decree, but we're starting with 2020. So, can you share with folks what led you out into community, into the streets in 2020?
Well, in 2020, I was already out in the street with my community policing, my Derby City ambassadors, the clergy police, our resource team, my code green. So I was already out in 2020, but on the community policing stage, putting power to the community of the community policing, which came out of the President Obama's uh, 2015 community policing booklet. So that's where I was in 2020. So when things came out, I was already there.
You were
Yeah, I
already
was
there.
out there. Yeah.
Makes absolute sense. So
Yeah,
when I saw you at the square, it wasn't new for you, right? To be out in community. But
that's
what
true.
brought you out to the square?
Uh, Reverend Arcot,
Okay.
Reverend Arcot, my pastor and my partner in the Arcot Alliance Funeral Home, he was going down
Okay.
to the square every night and was going in. So when I would call him on the phone and say, "Hey, where you at? I need to talk to you about a funeral."
Yeah.
Well, you had to come on,
Yeah.
come on down to the square. So I ended up this was, but once I got down there, Erica, then it took another turn. Then I began to become involved myself, and then I had members from the Gospel Missionary Church that was actively involved
Okay.
in the 2020 square. So both sides, from the law side,
Mhm.
from the social side, and then from the religious side
Yeah.
as a pastor preacher in town. That's where
Absolutely.
I was in 2020. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's been almost 5 years.
Yes.
So in those 5 years, what has your advocacy looked like? What has God called you to do in this movement for social justice in those past 5 years?
Uh, Continue the fight, continue the efforts of the community taking charge of its own policing,
Mm.
that the community come back to be a community where that the community monitors itself. When I say monitor, continue to look at things in the community and then come back and maintain it,
Mm.
do some maintenance if it needs to be tightened, if it needs to be loosened, the community, and then to what do we monitor and we maintain, then we motivate others to become involved on being our eyes in our community and helping us, other groups, other uh, agencies in the black community. I'm keeping it in house.
Yes.
That's what my thing is. Last 5 years, let's keep it within us, and then uh, minister where we need to. So monitor, minister, maintain, and motivate
Yes.
has been what we have tried to do. Whether it's been the Gospel Missionary Church, whether it's been the clergy police, I'm sheriff with the sheriff office, funeral home, anything that's the concept is look, maintain, but let's take our own uh, authority. Let's do it ourselves. This is kind of where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you all heard Bishop Lyons talk about the 4 M's. So I want to hear you, Bishop Lyons, talk about something that I started to attend about 2 years ago, which is the Bishop's Table. It happens every Friday, 9 a.m. So Bishop, can you talk to us about how that came about and why to this day it remains vital to our community?
Uh, I believe that it came about because uh, two people, myself and Reverend Perkins, we would meet for breakfast every Friday at Cracker Barrel, and we were on the same mind about the policing of the black community needs to be within its own confine, using the people and the resources. So we meet every Friday for breakfast, and then a member of the another group would meet us. So, and then a police, when doing the protests, I had a relationship with the police. So the person that was running the police, Healy, started meeting. So now we got a preacher, and then we had a police, and then David James, uh, eats at Cracker Barrel every Friday. And so he started noticing us. So he started coming over to the table. It wasn't no meeting. It was just a preacher, and then you got a police, then you got a politician, and meeting, not meeting, but eating.
Yeah.
And then a protester joined. I think D joined my church. The deal of guy that got knocked in the head with the, he became a member of my church, and he started coming. Then Reverend, then another preacher started coming, another protester, another policeman. Next thing you know, we had eaten together. Police, uh, a politician with David James, and we had a protester and somebody else, a preacher, police, says P P P P P.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And then we're going to come back in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break and
Okay,
come back because I want to hear about what's the bishop's table doing now,
okay.
today. Okay.
Hey guys, before we get back to the live stream, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality Bar and Grill, located at 3402 West Broadway. You guys got to come and check us out. You can call your order in, and the phone number is 502-822-1474. Again, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality. Come check us out, guys.
All right, we're back. Thank you all so much for continuing to stay with us. So, Bishop, you were starting to share with us what's the bishop's table doing today. So that's the origin story. What's the bishop's table doing right now?
Okay, the bishop's table is a place where persons in the community that has something to offer, whether it be Metro Council, whether it be the law enforcement, whether it be the bank, whether it be any entity in the community, they come on Friday to bring their gift, bring their energy to the table. Also, those who need certain things come to the table. And so that's right now, it serves as I consider like being at Granny's house after morning service. Everybody eats at Granny's house after church when they did go to church.
Yeah.
So you have your brother that's a lawyer, you have your cousin that's a police, you got a cook, you got your uncle's a mechanic, you got a smart person, then you got somebody in the street, you got Jumbo, PP, Ray Ray, Shay Shay now, okay. And but at Granny's house, you get what's going on with the family, and you're able to correct some things
Mhm.
and give your support. So if sister girl's getting ready to get evicted, and Granny knows it, then they tell the family, let's help. If sister need to move, hey, I need to get over there. If Boo Boo in jail, the ones that's a judge, what do we need to do, sister girl? Well, mama, you got a sister up in Frankfurt. Something get ready to come down. We'll know it before anybody else. They get ready. Y'all better stop because they're changing the law.
Mhm.
All right. So that's what the table is serving as a meeting place where you can get information, but it's about true information, facts, fact, and you can give information out of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
That's why when you come, I want to hear what's going on. I don't want to hear what we think. You're up in favor. Attica, tell us what's going on up Frankfurt and what we need to be aware of. So that's
Absolutely.
what the Bishop table serves now,
Okay.
and it is growing and growing. And tomorrow, it's 4 years we celebrate, and we're excited about that. Then we're going on back to the house
All right. That's right.
every Friday from 9 to 10. Yeah,
Awesome. So tomorrow, Friday, right here at the Goodwill
Goodwill.
Opportunity Center at 9 a.m., join the 4-year celebration of the Bishop's Table. So, Bishop, as you can imagine, there are people who have questions about the church's role in protest, but also what's the church's role right now as it relates to the consent decree and police accountability and addressing some of the issues in this 200 plus page document.
One of the mistakes that the church made in 2020 is that the church did not become involved in the protests. We had, I believe you can count on one hand the preachers that were actively involved in the protests, and because of that, it was more violent, more what, probably more destructive, um, lack of direction, the lack of unity, because the church kind of took his hands, kind of backed off of that. And even with Grandmaster, was it Grandmaster Jay?
Yes.
Okay. He didn't bring the church in. So now he's in prison for the last 2.5 years uh, without the church support because when he came to town, he did not connect with the church. So you didn't see the church in a while. So now I hope that with this consent decree, that the church need to be involved. Since it just happened in the last 2 days, that the president says is forget that, stop it. That's where the church need to be at the table with. That's why you need to catch that bus when I go to the Black Caucus on February the when it's February the 6th. It's the Black Caucus up there.
Okay.
That's why y'all need to get on the Bishop's bus and let's go up to February because we need to be at the table with you, Attica. We need to be at the table with Shamika, uh, with the meetings about the consent
That's
decree.
right.
Uh, so that's the role that the church must play, and the church need to have representatives on those committees that's dealing with the consent decree. Uh, I did an interview yesterday with the WJS, and I'm saying that the church better be concerned because if Trump uh, can tell the police that they can infringe upon the house of safety, then he may come out with a consent decree, uh, some kind of order that says y'all can't have church on Sundays. Y'all got, it's moving. It's a dangerous.
Yes.
It's dangerous for the government to infringe. And I thought there was a separation of state and church. Uh, so the church need to become aware. We need to stop whatever our little fights are. We need to focus on the same thing. Like the bishop's table is like that. They, the captain was enemies meet at the bishop's table.
Mm.
You have the yeah, we'll have the probably tomorrow, probably have the president of the Republican Party be at the bishop's table. You'll have the warden, but you also have the prisoner. You have the jailer from, but you also have a guy that just got out of jail last night. And so uh, we're gonna have to lay down and find out what we do agree on, and let's walk where we can. Let me give you this story. I had a little friend. I was going to the funeral home at 12 years old. I'm an undertaker now. And my friend, we leave school and he said, Dennis, where are you going? We go out. I said, I'm going over to the funeral home. He says, okay, you go on to the funeral home. When you get through helping Robert Samuels with that body, come back here and we'll meet and we'll go play basketball. That's the way black folks got to do it. If we disagree on something, you say, Dennis, go on. I'm not dealing with you with that. I'm not with
Right.
whatever it is, methane play. I was with the methane.
Yeah.
Didn't go on, but we ain't. And when you get through with the methane, come on back and we're going up to Frankfurt on your bus. But what we do is because we disagree on a certain thing, we become disagreeable in every area. I don't think, and you may be able to tell me that lawyers and those in government officials, I don't see where they do that. They can be in court fighting. I object, Mr. Atticus. I don't know where she gets that, but cares. And then they'll walk out and say, hey, you coming to ain't this party? You still bringing? Okay, I tell my wife,
Right.
hey, Atticus bringing the Kool-Aid. She bringing the cake. All right, girl, you got me on that case. You know, I didn't know you knew KSI.
Right.
Blacks got to learn how to do that, Atticus. We got to learn how to disagree, but yet the areas where we agree, we got to grab hands.
That's right.
You know, we would fight in Newburgh, but if you came out Newburgh and tried to talk to one of our
That's right.
girls
That's right.
without permission,
That's right.
you had to fight.
Yeah.
Blacks got to do that, and I'm seeing at the table we doing that, and we learn as we mature uh, that we are becoming more and more sensitive to that area of disagreeing,
Yes.
but not becoming disagreeable.
That's it. That's
And that's
absolutely
where
right.
the church got to do it. I believe if we take that, Max, if we take that attitude, the church can play a very important part very, I'm supposed to be telling you, a very important part
That's right.
in helping with this. Those who have the information,
Mhm.
you done read the consent. I
Yes.
have not. So, and Shamika, y'all have read it, y'all meeting on it, y'all dealing with every day. The role of the church is to give y'all support,
Yeah.
and y'all role is to make sure that y'all get that information to the church, get
That's
that
right.
information to the family, get it to the pastors, so the pastors can tell the rest of the family
Mhm.
what they got from those that actually know what they're talking about.
That's right. Absolutely. So before we go, Bishop Lyons, thank you so much for being with
Yes,
us.
thank you.
I want to ask you, is there anything you want to share with folks who are watching this live about where we are today and what our path forward is as it relates to police accountability and building and strengthening our communities?
Where we are today is I go back to the premise that I operate on is that we are going to have to, as Dr. King say, write our own emancipation proclamation.
Mm,
We cannot depend on any entity outside of ourselves as a community. Um, to That's why I have the code green. You didn't talk about the
oh,
code
Cold
code
Green. Yeah,
green.
what is Cold Green? Please tell us.
Okay, the code green is a project that the Bishop's Table and the Voice of Louisville is coming up with, teaching our people what to do when they stop by the police. You can have one in the street or in your home. You're a law person. And what that pamphlet is saying is what daddy and mama would say to a child when they're dealing with the police. They're telling that girl, if the police stop you, be respectful. Don't be talking. Don't argue with them.
Right.
And don't run.
Mhm.
Okay. And nowadays they get scared when they don't see your hands. So Attica, keep your hands visible at all times. And baby, don't reach for nothing because they'll shoot you. Don't reach for nothing unless you tell them. Don't give them no false information because they got those computers, Attica. They can go back and find out that your name ain't Attica Lyons.
That's right.
Your
That's
name
right.
is Attica.
That's right.
So tell the truth. Now, Attica, if they disrespect you, you make sure that you don't argue with them. But when that stops, you call the police on the police.
Mm,
You ask for a supervisor to come to that scene. If that supervisor don't show up, you report that to the inspector of his. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what. Okay,
Okay.
and then also, Code Green is telling you your rights. You have the right to ask that copy your name, his name, badge number. You got the right to ask the right stuff. All that's in.
Okay.
But the name Code Green, they got Code Blue.
Mm,
Code Blue means they cover each other.
uh-huh.
Code Green means we're covered.
Okay.
Code Green means that we are going to hold the officer accountable. If you go by what the code, don't run, don't put it, and he still hits you, he's got a problem.
Mm,
Not only with you, but he got a problem with the community. If
that's
we
right.
look at that tape and we see that you went by the Code Green behavior and he still handled you
Mm,
aggressively,
yes.
it's going to be a problem.
That's right.
He needs to be disciplined on it.
Mhm.
And so that's a project that we are
Okay.
starting at the table.
Okay.
And we're going to want to teach it, but we also want to enforce, put some teeth in it. That's just not uh,
That's right.
something that people think they use it just to get out of jail, but it's a behavior that's respected um, by the community, but also respected by the police.
Awesome. Bishop Lyons, thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us today. We really
thank you.
appreciate you. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in today to Stay Live Streams. As always, please use your voice. It is your power. It is your tool for transformative change. As Harriet Tubman said, keep going no matter what. Please keep going. And as always, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay live.
It is our duty to fight for our
We
freedom.
will not make excuses. We will make changes.
It is our duty to It is our duty to We must love and support. We must love.
Does the mayor still plan to spend this money in the same way following this announcement? And if so, why does he think he has the authority?
We have
We have
nothing.
nothing to lose.
I've been here every day.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
But our chains.